This is what we call in the booking business stepping in it. We were just going to preview the season, but we now have a man who has been all over this story for The Athletic, senior NBA writer for The Athletic, Sam Amick here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Sam?
Really good, Rich. Thanks for having me, brother.
No, I appreciate it. Are you regretting accepting my invitation right now because your phone's blowing up with information?
It's been a morning. It's funny. We'll get into the Simmons stuff. I got a story coming out in a little bit talking to James Jones, the Suns GM, about the Deandre Ayton stuff, which is a pretty compelling one on its own. So that has been my morning, trying to get that thing out. And then I look at Twitter and I see Ben, like you just kind of detailed, getting the old heave-ho, old school style, like it's a high school team or something. So, yeah, just the latest turn in the Simmons saga here.
Okay, so let's take it one at a time, starting with what everybody's talking about right now. What can you tell me about what happened today, best you can tell, and how your reporting leading up to this kind of framed the moment, Sam?
So, I mean, today seems pretty straightforward. Doc Rivers has already spoken on it, and, you know, it's just a player who wasn't following commands, if you will, at practice, and who chose not to sub in for a particular drill and was then deemed a distraction. I mean, it's not surprising at all to see it go down this road, because it's 2021. The I think jarring part is just that we have a window into their world. You know what I mean? You've got these videos of the phone in the pocket and things of that nature. But if you remember a few weeks ago, and this is stuff like you alluded to that I had written at the time, his camp and his side and his people said all along, like, if he comes back, he will not be there mentally. Like, his body might be there, his spirit will not. He is mentally checked out on the Sixers. Now, admittedly, that's at the time I thought, all right, that's easy to say now, but Ben is not really considered personality-wise, a Jimmy Butler type or even an Anthony Davis type. So people wondered, did he kind of have the thick skin to carry himself in this kind of defiant way? And obviously he is going down that road. So pretty uncomfortable right now.
So what are the Sixers' options here? They've just suspended him one game for conduct detrimental, but that's a road opener against the Pelicans, which means he's eligible to return for, wait a minute, the home opener against the Nets. And this is the setup for what? They're gonna introduce him with the spotlight to the crowd and now put your hands together? Like, really? I mean, what's the options here? What are the moves for the Sixers?
I mean, it seems, and I haven't connected with them since this latest development, but it seems untenable to me, and it seems headed toward a, essentially kind of a declaration of, all right, why don't you go ahead and stay home, and we'll keep working the trade market. Now, that's not what they wanted. Daryl Morey, is their Sixers president, was the one who had brought up, the kind of somewhat, overly hopeful, I guess I'll say, Aaron Rodgers example. Like, just like the Packers QB came back to his group and started leading them to wins, maybe Ben would do that. Ben's obviously not going to do that. And, they hoped that he would get on the floor and remind the rest of the NBA how good of a player he is, up his trade value, and then get something, that was more amenable to what they want to do trade-wise. But I just don't see that happening, and I don't know what they're going to do, but we have seen in other situations, the Timberwolves on the back end of their Jimmy Butler experience would certainly tell you that they made a mistake in having him come back, that they should have just told Jimmy to stay home, that it creates too much of a distraction. You have a ripple effect on your teammates, on staff members. It just makes everybody miserable. And again, we're seeing that right now.
Well, I mean, the difference, Sam Amick of The Athletic, senior NBA writer here on the Rich Eisen Show, the difference between Aaron Rodgers and Ben Simmons, just glaring, would be your story about what Simmons thought, apparently, about Joel Embiid's presence in the paint and how that's a detriment to his game. It's never, when Aaron Rodgers was thinking about not coming back, he was never quoted as saying Devontae Adams was a problem,
Sure.
Just putting it all back together again, figuring, let's just all try it and hope that Simmons will show up like Aaron Rodgers and just go through it. That might be a little bit pie in the sky. So what now? Can they send him home? Can they basically say, you're not coming and that's it? And the NBA Players Association, the NBA PA, is going to be just fine with that? That's cool.
Well, the discussion, at that point, it's, is he getting paid or not? And so then that I keep using that word uncomfortable. That's where it's, if you're Ben, it's like, man, are you really going to do this? Are you really going to walk, kind of do this high wire act where you decide how little energy do I need to put forth in order to continue getting paid, while also sending the message that, I'm still upset with you. I don't want to be here. I want you to trade me. That's a pretty impossible needle to thread, in my opinion, because he's already made it clear, not surprisingly, that he wants to get paid. When he started losing money, that's when he came back. It was getting close to about $1 million that he had already lost. And so, voila, Ben Simmons is back. So, yes, they can sideline him, but then the discussion about pay is one that the union is going to be heavily involved in. And I agree with you completely about the Aaron Rodgers comparison where it falls short because, he is not only done being in Philly, and he kind of refutes the idea that the fans play a part here, but, come on, you can't tell me that's a tough crowd. They haven't been happy with him. That doesn't make it any easier. But, yeah, he wants them to build around Joel Embiid, go on their merry way, and put him in a new spot.
So what is the trade market for him, best you can tell, Sam? What is it?
Every team that I run into, it's just red flags galore. And what struck me a little bit is that it does extend, I think, beyond, what has taken place this season. I think, the book on Ben, if you will, even before this, there, because of the shooting and the lack of development on that side, there were questions about, call it work ethic, call it just, dedication to the development side. And that stuff is pretty glaring, obviously. There's questions about fit personality-wise. I think teams have concerns, but then, of course, they look at it and go, all right, guy was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting last season. Even when he struggles offensively, he's a game changer on the other end. So, the market is there. The Timberwolves have been the most aggressive to this point, even through their front office change that took place recently. We've heard other teams involved. The Kyrie Irving prospect, I was told, is definitely not something that Philly has interest in terms of both those teams solving their problems. So I don't know where this goes still because the market is nowhere near what Daryl Morey wants it to be.
I'm sorry. I should have let me rephrase the question. How does Rich Paul get Simmons to the Lakers? How does that happen? I should have asked it that way. My bad. How does that happen, Ben?
That's a good question.
Simmons with the Lakers.
Yeah, Russ in a Philly jersey, Russ at Embiid. I don't know. Can you flip him that quick? I don't think they're allowed to do that. It's a rock and a hard place, man. And Rich, listen, Rich is obviously a big character in this situation, and Rich was at the center of the Anthony Davis situation when Anthony pushed his way to Lakerland. And that one, he got what he wanted. This one is different in terms of Ben does not have a target team that he's trying to go after. It's more so just get me out of Philly and get me somewhere, where I can have a new chapter.
A few more minutes left with Sam Amick of The Athletic, senior NBA writer. All right, you came on the air and said that you've been tracking down Deandre Ayton's contract saga in Phoenix prior to everything blowing up in Sixers practice. What is the latest in Phoenix with that?
Well, I'll have probably in fairly short order, we're going to publish an interview with Suns GM James Jones. Talked at length about why they chose not to give DeAndre the max deal that he wanted and that he thinks he deserved. And honestly, Rich, it's a good old fashioned, parts of it anyway are a he said. I did talk to DeAndre's representatives, and they're not pleased at all with the characterization from the Suns and James of how this went down. James feels like there was not an actual negotiation, that they claimed that they would have been open to discussing 3-year max deals, 4-year max deals, and DeAndre's people are 100% basically calling BS on that and saying that's just not how this went down. So, for a team that it was a pretty neat story getting to the finals unexpectedly and things being fantastic in the Valley of the Sun just a couple months ago, this is not how they want to go into this year.
No, absolutely. And I don't want you to give up too much of what people should go get the app, go however you want to read Sam's work on The Athletic. I don't want to take up too much of you cannibalizing your post that's about to come, but why not? I mean, he what would be the issue of just giving the kid what he wants? Because we saw even when Chris Paul was doing his stuff, and Devin Booker was doing his stuff, that they still needed Ayton's presence in a significant way. That he was a difference maker, even though this is such an outside game in now in the NBA. That he has some serious value to that team at his position, athletically, and so much more.
Yeah, no question. And more importantly, in terms of the business side, most executives are handicapping that he'll have no problem getting max money next summer. So he'll be a restricted free agent. They, of course, can match next summer. My general sense to your question, Rich, is that I think Robert Sarver would just prefer to deal with this next summer and would prefer to not be, kind of saddled with a 5-year max. That's clearly what they didn't want. Now, and this is, again, in the column, but there's some discussion about, in the NBA and the way the CBA operates, you can only have 2 designated rookie max extensions per team, and Devin Booker already had 1. So there's a little bit of a sense from James's side that, if we would have given DeAndre that second one, then if we wanted to chase another star player that was also on a designated rookie max, that would limit some of their ability to potentially add star power. There is some logic there, but like I write, it's pretty far-fetched to think about getting a guy like that without giving up a Booker or an Ayton type. So I think at base level, Sarver, in my opinion, preferred to kick the can to next summer. Didn't want the 5-year deal, would rather ultimately match a 4-year deal. But the human component is always, maybe going to nip you in the bud, because if you offend your guy and he doesn't want to be there anymore, and I'm not saying that's the case. He has not asked for a trade. That's not happening by any means. But, the human component matters, and right now it's not in a great place.
Yeah, I guess leave it in Monty Williams' hands to fix it, right? In the locker room and in the huddle and what have you.
Right.
Okay, last one for you, Sam. Sam Amick of The Athletic. What's the overarching storyline coming into this season? Is it, will Kyrie take the shot? Can the Lakers do it with Russell Westbrook and AD and LeBron? I mean, what do you got for me on the tip-off to the 75th Diamond season?
Well, in the interest of just being COVID fatigued in terms of that being part of the sports discussion,
right?
I'm gonna skip over the Kyrie one. That's obviously a massive story, though. I'm in LA right now. I will be at Lakers Warriors tonight. I have Lakers on the mind. I went to Lakers practice yesterday, talked to LeBron, talked to Frank Vogel a little bit, and the Russell Westbrook story to me is, if nothing else, it's going to be must-see TV. It's going to be really interesting. He's last couple of years, Russ has gone from, let me make it work with James Harden, let me try to play off the ball, not be the alpha male. Okay, this is not working like I thought it would. Now I want to go to Washington and play my Russell Westbrook brand of basketball again. I'm going to break Oscar Robertson's triple-double record. It's going to be that brand of Russell Westbrook basketball. And then, lo and behold, now it's, hey, I want to get home and play in L.A., and it's closer to that Houston formula that he tried unsuccessfully to figure out before. So, and probably even tougher, to integrate him with LeBron and AD from a functionality standpoint. So I'm dying to see if it works. I think, we've seen this before, super teams that didn't work. Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant come to mind in 2012 with Pau Gasol. We saw how that ended. So I don't know if this is going to be this team's story or if it's going to, be something grander. But I think that one's a big one.
And what a team to be facing against the Warriors, right? Klay Thompson's return.
Sure.
And so much more. I mean, that is something for sure that'll be an interesting aspect to tonight's game as well. I can't wait to
100%.
see this.
I mean, that one to me, Rich, is going to be really interesting on the back end of the season when they get Klay Thompson back, hopefully around December,
right.
January. How dangerous can they be if things fall the right way for them?
Yeah, I can't wait to see all of it. Sam, really appreciate it. I know your phone's blowing up. You got some stuff to do. But one last thing, if you don't mind adding to your to-do list today, of what to track down. If you don't mind, I'll be your editor for a split second, but this is why I do this and not really editing. Can you find out where Ben Simmons got those sweatpants? I am fascinated by them. They seem to be just standard run-of-the-mill gray sweatpants. I don't know. I'm not a fashion guy, but they don't seem to be team issued. Like the sweatpants, I think that it's obviously it's an Apple phone that's in the pocket.
Sure.
But
I don't know, Rich, if we might have a mutual friend here. Our colleague Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated. Mm-hmm. Those sweatpants look eerily similar to the pair that Chris wore for 6 consecutive weeks in the bubble, and that that it smelled in ways that clothes should never smell. So I don't know. Maybe Mannix let Ben borrow his sweatpants.
Well, you know what, Sam, I can't believe you're letting Mannix get that scoop, but I understand you got other things and other fish to fry, but I'm just fascinated. I mean, because again, we played the old Seinfeld line, like sweatpants are just like he told George, it's like I've given up. I'm unhappy, but at least I'm going to be comfortable. Like literally, that's what he gave off today. It was a Seinfeld episode,
100%. Some publicist somewhere was pulling those strings and saying these are the optics we need.
Sam, appreciate the time. Thanks for the call. Let's look for my call again.
Rich.
Thank you. That's one of the best senior NBA writer from The Athletic, Sam Amick. He's in the Downtown Hoops Dojo tonight. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.